Hey Lindsay, it's Shannon Duick. Thank you so much for submitting your video. I love your horse. He looks very willing, very forward, and really quite nicely connected and confident into the bit. So I'm watching him canter around here, and he's a little bit long right there, but I think it's in the beginning of your ride. And I think what you're doing is doing a little bit of warm up on him to get him going into the connection. I think pretty soon, there you go, into the posting trot. So now in your posting trot, I think he's so willing to go forward, and he does take a nice good connection in front, which is like the first thing we have to teach these horses. I think that I would like to see you have a little bit shorter stirrup. And I know that sounds weird from a dressage rider's point of view, but I think your knee and your hips need to bend a little bit more. Your ankle is good and supple. I see your ankle move a lot, but I think your knee and your hips need to both be a little bit more bending. You're a little bit braced in it. And this is going to help you create a place in your seat to have his back come up more. So what we want to do is take this horse who is so nicely forward and confident on the bridle, and make him into, instead of a rectangle, we need to make him a little bit squarer. And the squareness can't come at the expense of suppleness. So we want to make him a little bit shorter from nose to tail. But it has to come because he comes up in his back and comes round over the top line. The top of his neck gets longer, and his underline gets a little bit shorter as he starts to engage his abdominal muscles as well as his hind legs more underneath you. Now, if you can get a little bit more bend yourself in your elbows, your arms are a little straight and your legs are a little straight. If you can make all of your joints bend a little bit more so that they can flex and extend and absorb the motion better, we can get both of you getting into more correct collection. So the trot that I'm seeing, again, nicely forward, and I'm just missing you right now. There you are. You're back in the picture. The bend is quite good, and the flexion is quite good. Well, there he could be a little bit more bending. We just need to get him so that we get a little bit more suppleness, both laterally and longitudinally. That's going to come from you becoming a little more effective in your framework as a rider and taking this very willing horse into a more compact horse. But it doesn't come from getting stronger. It comes from getting more supple and stronger in his abs, but not stronger as a rider. The walk, let's see, nicely forward, good forebeat, good stretch. I like that you dropped your hand and you're getting your right shoulder low. I think we do need to work all the time on keeping us as square as possible. So there you're dropping your right hand and letting your right side drop. I would do the opposite as well. Taking the reins in your right hand and letting your left side drop, and see which one of those is easier for you. Is it easier for you to drop your left shoulder and your left hip, or is it easier for you to drop your right shoulder and your right hip? The one that it's a little bit harder for you to drop, do that exercise a little bit more often, and it'll get you a little more even on your horse. We're always looking to get ourselves more and more symmetrical, because we're all born asymmetrical. And our horses are all born asymmetrical. We need to just evaluate where our asymmetries are and work on them. And you can work on these things off your horse as well. It doesn't have to be for the 45 minutes that you're on, that you are working on it. I work on it when I'm sitting teaching lessons. I'm aware of where I'd like to cross my legs, and I try to cross my legs the other way. All right, we're at walk. You've put your horse together. Right here, you're quite square in your shoulders. I'm quite happy with that. The leg yield is very good. You're going straight, and then you do a little turn on the haunches. Good. And there's no reason why you couldn't do a full turn on the haunches there. Just take that exercise, which you're doing so well, take it and make it a little bit more difficult, because you're making this one look too easy, Lindsay. The leg yield good, the turn on the haunches, Quite good. Again, a little bit rushed in the first step, but really quite good. A little more outside leg there, because that one wasn't quite a turn on the haunches. You just needed to hold the outside hind leg a little bit more. From this view, I'm again looking at how square you are in your horse, and your shoulders are quite square. You don't have one dropped more than the other. Again, turn on the haunches. Now you need a little bit more haunches in that turn on the haunches. So a little bit more outside leg back, or if it's in the right position, just a little bit stronger outside leg through it, so that you feel in the turn on the haunches that you're holding the outside hind leg under your outside seat bone, right? Nice leg yield, very willing. Outside, better, a little bit better in that outside leg that time. Well done. So then I think you should actually go the other way and do it. So you did a bunch of them off to the left. You should do the same exercise to the right and see which one's easier. So right now, as you're going away from me, your right shoulder is dropped. If you're doing it on purpose, I have a feeling you might be. If you're doing it on purpose, good for you. If you're not, be aware of it and make sure that you're working on your left shoulder dropping as much as your right. I like doing all this work in the walk, especially these days that it's so hot. If you do good walk work, you're getting so much done for your horse without the stress or strain on them that you do on the trot or canter. But it has to be good, and you have to think of the walk work as being the same, having the same demands as you have in the trot and canter. Actively forward, correctly balanced. Do you have a half halt, or is your horse pulling you along? When you say actively forward, they shouldn't pull you along. Then the other thing is the horse leaning one way or the other? And if it is, you start doing little exercises like you're doing there. I often warm my horses up, the FEI horses, I warm them up after they've had a stretchy walk. I put them together and I will ride into the shoulder in, and then I'll ride into the half pass, and then I'll ride some walk pirouettes, very similar to what you're doing right now. The shoulder in is good, but look at what happened to your shoulders when you did this. Now, because we're working at the walk, I can get super picky on that, but your right shoulder is low. So here you have to make sure your left side stays engaged in this shoulder in. Same in your half pass left. So now you're doing shoulder into half pass. You need to make sure your left shoulder doesn't lift up when you go into the shoulder in left. Right? And I can't see quite well. I'm just going to zoom you here. The frame is good there. And the turn down the center line, you could have made it a little bit more on the haunches. You could have had a little bit more outside leg in that one. Nice shoulder in his position, and the leg yield is very good. The positioning and flexion is correct. Your left shoulder is still high, though. You need to get it in line. You're leaning a little bit left and lifting your left shoulder. We want to have it, if you had a broomstick across your shoulders through all this work, we want to have that broomstick stay horizontal. If it tips up or down, it means you've tipped up or down. And we actually, even through the bend with the horses, we want their shoulders to be equally up. All right, so again, nicely forward into your trot work. But again, I get the feeling that I just want your stirrups a little bit shorter. I want your elbows bending more, and I'd like to see your back arch a little bit more so that you can absorb the motion of the trot like a spring up and down. You're a little careful in how you're sitting. Instead of allowing yourself to be up, really allow yourself to get really stretched and then compress and stretch and compress. You're just holding yourself stretched instead of allowing yourself. There's a down and an up component to all of that work. That walk in the half pass right is maybe a hair rushed. And I think that maybe is a little bit harder for him, the work to the right. So if he rushes through it, well, I'm always happier that they rush than if they're dogging it, if they're really behind my leg. The rushing gives me something to half halt. So I do appreciate that, but then make sure that you're not rushing through your work. All right, and there you could sit a little bit more still. Again, he's nicely forward and nicely taking the connection. I've lost you for a moment. Oh, there you are again. The shoulder into the right. you need to get him a little bit more off your right leg there. So I would be doing a little bit more leg yielding before I did the shoulder in that direction. And yeah, the half pass is actually quite decent, creating the bend though, and he does rush a little bit. So you could be doing your half halts, and through the half halt, you could be asking him for more bend off your right leg and a little bit more of your right seat bone. Here, your left shoulder is a little low again. Gosh, I can see it really well on this video. Nice stretch into the walk, willing forward. So many nice things about this horse that I think if you keep working on getting him correctly bending into a little bit shorter rein, into more of a bending elbow. Here your right shoulder's low and your left is high. We got to get, oh yeah, and now I do see it. So I have a feeling that when you drop your right rein, you're actually giving in a little bit to what your crookedness wants to be, what your asymmetry wants to be. So promptly forward, nicely done. And I think you're sitting a little bit more with a little bit more authority there. You need, before you half pass, you need to get more bend. Your leg yields are good. Your half passes, because your shoulder ends aren't truly bending from your inside leg, then the half pass is not really a half pass. He pushes a little bit through his left shoulder in that half pass. Let's see if this one gets better. That's still pushing a little bit through that left shoulder. So you did the right thing. You need to shoulder in to fix it, or even leg yield back over towards the barn as a fix for when he falls through the bend in your half pass. But I want to see you get your shoulder ins better, more correct from your inside leg before you start your half pass. Medium is, again, willingly forward. He's a bit too long in the frame. In the mediums, we want them to be gaining ground and amplitude uphill instead of merely going forward like we want them in the lengthenings. The shoulder in needs a little bit more angle. The half pass needs a little bit more bend, nicely forward. Yeah, really nicely forward, bending your elbows, transition to walk. Okay, so what I'm looking at here is getting more positioning, getting the horse more through his body before you do your lateral work. And you're going to bring the work up by at least like 1 or 2 points for each movement when you get him more through. Okay, the frame is a little bit better now. He's not quite as long. Bending your elbows and having your hips get a little bit more in between your elbows, you're going to be able to really help this horse compress himself, compress all the forward that he has. Very, very prompt and correct in the rein back. The frame is good there as well. He's a little bit shorter in his neck. You're starting to get him more compressed. And what are we doing now? A little bit rushed in your walk rhythm. He needs a little bit more relaxation. I like it when a horse rushes. That doesn't mean that's the final thing that we want, but at least he wants to go forward, which is lovely. It's really, really lovely. That's a really important thing. Okay, bend is better. Yeah, good. Your bend is better. Now, you had it in the walk even, right? Good, and there you finish your half pass, confirm your bend. If that's what's difficult, finish your movement, confirming what's difficult. And the frame is looking better there, Lindsay, for sure. He needs a little bit of balance there. You need a little bending left. Sit on your left seat bone and get your left elbow heavier and deeper. That's going to make a difference for you as well. Yeah, good boy. Sit, bend your elbows. Yeah, hips towards your horse's mouth instead of backwards. And again, a really nice walk stretch. Yeah, I'm pretty impressed, but that's where you're going to make all the difference in the world to take this horse from a second level frame and start to really improve his collection. You really start to get some collection when he'll take that forward and let you compress it with a little more suppleness through his body, both laterally and longitudinally. A lot of these transitions, and don't give up on getting really correct bend from your inside aids into a supportive outside rein. Instead of letting him stay just a little bit fake and a little bit too straight, get him off your inside leg. I think you should experiment in shortening your stirrups half a hole and see if you can get a little bit more bend in your hip and your knee. It'll help. Bend in your elbow. It'll all help. I hope this has been helpful to you, and I'd love to have some feedback. Thanks, Lindsay. Have a great day.